Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Psychic Wives. I am Jerry Carabin.
And I'm Ginger Hendry.
And we're starting something really fun this year. We are having guest wives. This is hard because when I introduce her, I'm going to have to call her the guest wife, right? Yeah. So we are having guest wives on this year just to help us talk about whatever topic we've come up. And it's usually people that we know, are dear friends with, have had on the show before. And for those of you that are listening, you will recognize our guest today. She's a very dear friend of ours. She's an animal communicator. She's an intuitive. She's a Reiki master. She has been on here talking about chakras before. And so our guest wife today is Julie Ulrich. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Jerry and Ginger. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, you were like one of the first. We're like, ooh, Julie would be a great guest wife.
That's right.
Yeah, guest wives. And we also say we are not opposed to guest husbands either.
That's right.
So we can absolutely get guest husbands on. So we will reach out to that, to those as well. So today we really wanted to talk about just the wild, crazy, funny, interesting, sometimes sad, sometimes wow, things that happen to us when we do this work, but then also just signs and intuitive stuff that happen like every day. We thought it would just be kind of interesting to everybody that listens to see this stuff, so they can see a little bit about, what happens and how we work. But also, Julie had said, about just signs and stuff that happen in our daily lives. Because in my opinion, and I think you guys are probably going to agree with me, this happens to people all the time and they don't see it for what it is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I have to say, aren't you finding that that's changing?
I do think it's changing. And we've talked a lot about our friend Tammy Master-Birdie and her book, God, The Universe is Speaking, or is Talking to You, which, by the way, is our first book club book with the Psychic Wives. So we'll talk about that later, but she talks about that too, that they're everywhere. And Julie, I know you specifically are a big sign person. Like, you see stuff everywhere. Julie has a blog post that she writes, and it's all about signs and magic and stuff like that. And by the way, because Julie was a guest on our podcast before talking about chakras, you can find contact information for Julie there at thepsychicwives.com on our guest page. You can find her there. But yeah, Julie is a huge one for signs and stuff. But I think because, Julie, you're so open to it and you're so aware of them. Yes?
Yeah, I think it's definitely influenced by intentionally being connected. Yeah. And, having studied Reiki and having studied intuitive work, and meditating every day and intentionally connecting every day, it makes me, I think, more open to receiving the signs. It makes me more apt to recognize them. But I don't mean to be like, everyone needs to meditate every day in order for this to happen, because that's not true, Right. As long as you sort of do whatever feels right for you to open up to a connection to the universal energy, to your guides or angels or whatever makes sense for you.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, that's great that you said that, because we actually just did an episode on meditation. And you know how people are like, meditation, but we were talking about how it doesn't have to be sitting in a room with your legs crossed, with your hand in a mudra, saying a mantra. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be walking in nature or, whatever. So that's what you're talking about right now, is the being open to it. And I think just because of the work that we do, we're super open to it. And so when something weird happens, I know me, when something weird happens, I'm like, ooh, what was that? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? What am I supposed to get from that? Or, you know what I mean?
Well, I did have to say, I had one today. I had 2 readings today, as I told you before I got on. And in the first reading, signs came up from a pet that's passed. So, and she recognized them. And then awesome. In this last reading, meditation came up, and she said, I cannot meditate. And I pointed her to, because we have a podcast coming out next week on this, but we talked about meditation and it not having to be a formal process necessarily, just what the intention is behind meditation. So, that was me just, 2 hours before we're sitting here talking about this kind of stuff. It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. So can we start out by sharing just some funny things that have happened working with clients? And then we'll move into like some funny things that happen. I have two. The one thing that the first time I wanted to talk to this, because this actually happened when I was studying with Julie. This was 2-3 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago. It was years ago, a couple of years ago at least. And it was the first time that I actually felt this intense emotion come over me. I was reading a cat that Julie had when she was growing up. And I don't even really remember the question that we asked the cat, but it was like, and we're on the phone, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like I could feel this. You can't even really describe it with words, but I could feel this like unconditional, like love for, and again, that doesn't really do it justice, but kind of coming up my feet, coming up my whole body to the point where I was like, oh my God, give me a second. Cause I started weeping a little bit. And I was like, whoa, what was that? You know what I mean? But it was like the first time that I've ever received information in that intense of a way. And it was just, I tell that story all the time because I so appreciate Julie's cat for doing that for me, because it was lovely. Do you know what I mean? It was an intense kind of experience for that. And
it was cool. So meaningful. It was so meaningful to receive it.
Yes.
I mean, super meaningful.
Yeah. And it was
coming from that specific cat in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Cause it was pretty intense. The reading and everything. So it was really cool. And the other one I wanted to tell you, because that was kind of like, oh God, whatever. But there was this other thing. And these are the kind of things that we're all going to start to share. I read a guinea pig once, and I'm reading this guinea pig. And do y'all remember, I know you do, Julie, Saturday Night Live, Toonces the driving cat.
Yeah.
Okay. So this guinea pig kept showing me him on a steering wheel, like his little feet would be on the bottom of the steering wheel and his top feet were kind of like on the top of the steering wheel. And he was showing me like Toonces the driving cat. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I don't understand. But I've learned, always say what comes in, because if you don't, you end up, not giving them a piece of information. And I said the guinea pig's name was Brie. I'll never forget it. And I was reading her human dad, and he was starting to get choked up and laugh because he said he used to take her for car rides. she used to like, hang on with her little paws on the top of the steering wheel. That cracked me up. I'll never forget that reading. I will never, I swear to God. Because you're thinking, come on, it's a guinea pig. And what, Toonces the driving cat. And I said to him, I don't know if you have ever seen Saturday Night Live and Toonces the driving cat. And right then he started welling up and he started laughing hysterically. I'm like, okay, so I'm guessing that means something to you. And he's like, oh my God. Yeah. So guinea pig driving. That was a funny one.
That was a first.
That was a first.
Amazing.
What funny ones or crazy ones have you guys had?
I had one when I was actually right before I started sort of building my business. I was very new at it. And it was somebody I knew through somebody else. So somebody I didn't really know. And I'm in Massachusetts, she's in California. And I say that because when I did this reading for her, it was a dog. And I got all the way through the reading. And we still had like 5 minutes left. And so she said, I don't know if we have time, but could you read this other animal, which turned out to be her, we call soul animal, heart animal,
the heart whatever.
Animal. But I think it would have been too painful for her to have done that. So we read this other one first. So 5 minutes. And honest to God, I got unbelievable information, like to soul level in the 5 minutes. But I said to her, I don't know why she's showing me this. I could see her as a pit bull, which typically, who cares what the breed is, but she was showing me herself. And she was spinning and spinning and spinning. And same thing, she started to well up. And the bottom line was, I don't remember all of what came through, but she worked in the entertainment industry somewhere, in the movie industry. She wasn't an actress or whatever. I don't know what she did, but she had access to that community. And so she had this like 3-minute film, if that's the right way, of her dog. And the dog it had a trainer. The dog was a pit bull, and the dog would spin, and they called her like the balloon popper or something. And it was an actual video.
Oh my God.
It was the pit bull and 2 boxers, or I think 2 pit bulls and a boxer. And they're in the Old West, and it opens up, and it's a movie set, and you see the tumbleweeds flowing down the street, and her dog comes in, and the dog's got a sheriff's badge on and a hat. And the dog's job is to get rid of balloons. There's some those are the outlaws or whatever. The saloon doors open, and the next scene, the dogs are at the bar, sitting at the bar with drinks in front of them, and they have hats on. And they say, there's somebody announces that there are balloons outside. And so she comes out, they all go out, and she starts spinning and popping all the balloons. And that was sort of the end of the movie. I don't remember all of it, but I saw her for the first time. Like I saw her, not popping balloons, but I mean her.
Yeah.
And that spinning, I only had a few minutes to do the reading, and she got the spinning in, and that said everything. And then I could see. Well,
that's the thing too that's so cool. You have a few minutes. The animal knows you only have a few minutes, so gives you the bullseye.
Yeah.
Gives you that big thing. And I know we're really supposed to keep our egos in check when we do this, and I don't know that this is about ego, but there's something that you're like, oh, thank God, when they give you some of this piece of information, because I always say, I don't need to understand it. Doesn't matter if I understand it, as long as you do, so when they give you that and you see the client start to laugh or something, you're like, okay, got it. Do you know what I mean? I don't even need to know, but you're like, thank goodness. Thank you for allowing me to be so clear, as I call it, clear and accurate channel to be able to get, that through.
That was the feeling. And that was the first time, because like I said, was feeling new, that I actually saw the animal. I don't mean just saw her in my mind's eye, but I mean afterwards was able to see her and put everything in context. Yeah. And that was just so cool.
That's awesome. So cool. So cool. What about you, Jules?
Well, one of my favorite things that ever happened in a reading was I was reading a client who was really, really, really grieving her dog who had recently passed. And at the end of the reading, she said to me, the client said, I just want to know if she's okay. And so I went to the dog, what can you tell me about how you're doing on the other side? And the dog showed me, this is so funny, Ginger, you said the dog was spinning. This dog was twirling on her hind legs in a pink tutu. And again, you got to say what you get, right? Yeah. So I'm like, this is what she's showing me. She's giving me this feeling of pure joy. I don't know why she's showing me the tutu, but the feeling I'm getting is just pure joy and peace and happiness. Like she is really, really in a good place. So about a week later, the client emailed me and said, I just have to tell you what happened yesterday.
Oh no.
I went for a walk and I came upon this other woman walking her dog, and her dog was identical to my dog. Same breed, looked exactly like her dog on the other side, right? She said this dog was wearing a pink tutu.
Oh my God.
So this woman is walking her dog down the street wearing a pink tutu. And so the women start to talk. The woman with the dog asked my client, do you want to just pick her up and hold her? So she did.
Oh,
She
God.
said, when I held her, I knew this was my dog on the other side giving me the message that she is completely okay and that she loves me. And I'm like,
it doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't get any better than that. And I'm starting to cry. So
I know.
Talk amongst yourselves. It does. It doesn't get any better than that. And I love it when the signs are so blatant.
Yeah.
And so there's no way that client could have said, yeah, well, that was just, come on, a dog in a pink tutu that looks exactly like, you know what I mean?
Well, and sometimes those things happen later, right? Like I don't know if I shared this on any podcast, but I did a reading for a gentleman like maybe a year ago on a dog that had passed many years earlier, but the same thing, that was his heart dog. And so I gave information that he said, yep, all the way through. And I kind of felt like it was a good reading. And then he left. I didn't hear from him again. And like, I don't know, 6 months later, 7 months later, he sends me an email to thank me about all the things that I got right, which I did feel like, but it wasn't one of those ones where like we're talking bullseye kind of thing. It was like, yeah, I get that. And he said, you were on track for everything, but there was one thing that you said that I couldn't get. He said, you mentioned, however many times, 3 or 4 times I mentioned that the picture I had of him was holding her, like hugging this dog. I thought the dog was in his lap, and he said she was too big to be a lap dog. So I just didn't get it. And he said, today, all these months later, I'm cleaning, I'm vacuuming, and he starts dusting his shelf. And on the shelf is a picture of him with this dog, and he's sitting on like a ledge or a bench, and the dog's on the ground, but her body's up over, and he's hugging her. He said, I see that picture every single day when I get out of bed, and I didn't get it. Like all of a sudden it hit him then. Yeah. That's why she kept saying, because it was in his room. Yeah. So that was kind of cool too.
Have you guys ever gotten the ones that are just really like embarrassed? Like they give you something and you're like, I can't say that. I can't say that. I had a dog. It was, and I was reading it for, I don't even remember who the client was or whatever, but it was a male dog. So we're going, and I'm doing a body scan. So there's a certain part of the anatomy on a male dog that he's, in a body, for those that don't know, in a body scan, we're basically telling the animal, show me on my body what's going on your body. Now sometimes I'll feel things or whatever, but my attention is just brought to the area. That's how my work. I know sometimes you guys might be feelers, like you feel pain in your right shoulder or something like that. I don't really, I feel emotion, but I don't really feel the pain, but my attention is drawn to the area. And then I can say what is going on with the area. So here I am, my attention is drawn to the part of the male anatomy. And I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I gotta say this. And I'm like, I can hit the E on this. So I'm gonna say the P word. I'm like, what other words for penis can I say, about this thing? And I'm going, and I'm doing this like, well, he's showing me his anatomy, his like whatever the client says, you mean his penis? And I'm like, yeah. And she starts laughing hysterically. And I'm like, oh, and she said there was like a big abscess on it. Like, and I'm like, oh God, yeah. So it was like I was like, I don't want to say it that way, but how else do you say it? And I have been able to say to the dogs when they give me something that's really going to be kind of maybe harsh feeling for the client, I'd be like, dude, you got to give me some better words. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not as.
But again, that was something, right? That meant so much, because I had one, the last reading I did this morning, and the dog was showing me his behind. Yeah. Like he was like, I could see his bum, and he was really muscular, and it, and it was his skin. His coat was really shiny. I can't even describe it. So I tell her that, and she lost it. And and unfortunately there was some grief because he has recently passed, but she said, my boyfriend and I talk about his butt all the time. He has like an unbelievably defined butt. And when he walks, it moves up and down. So it was like that was a thing for them.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
So
that is funny.
Oh my God. One of my really, really earliest readings was with a man, and obviously I didn't know anything about him. And one of his questions for his dog was his dog's behavior or routine had changed in the morning, and why he didn't understand why. So I asked the dog to talk about what he's doing in the morning, and the dog shows me a picture of him, the dog, in bed, like just kind of lounging in bed, and there's a woman in the bed. So I'm like, I can't, what am I going to say? So
oh God.
I was like, could there possibly be someone in the bed in the morning?
God. So you're like, you're like, to the client. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Could there be someone in the bed that's not you in the morning? And he was like, oh yeah, my wife. And I was like, oh, phew, thank God.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the dog's not saying he's having an affair. Oh my God.
But the dog was just trying to say, for whatever reason, this is what the wife was needing at that time, was just like some cuddle time with the dog in the morning. So he wasn't getting up with the husband like he usually does. But, you know, what I kind of forgot in the moment is, I think we all do this. When we go into a reading, we set the intention that everything that comes through in this reading is safe to be shared.
Yes.
I always make sure to set that intention. So of course it would be fine for me to say, okay, I see a woman in your bed.
Yeah, exactly.
But
oh my God, that's
yeah, I'm never going to get something that, you know, the client doesn't want me to get, right?
Right.
If you guys ever had, I had a woman once, and it was a lesson for me, because I have a little wellness center down in this area, and they do like a Super Soul Sunday kind of thing, or weekend, or Super Soul Saturday or something like that. And we go, and it's all energy worker type people, and the whole town comes through, and blah, blah, blah. And we did door prizes once. And so I thought, oh, okay. And I gave a gift certificate for a half-hour animal reading. Never do that.
Yes.
That's never do that, because it's a door prize. So the person that wins it may be like totally like, I don't want this crap, or whatever. But then you also have to think, well, universe is in divine order. So you have to think that way. So you know how we go into reading, and we still each probably have this is what I do first, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this. We kind of, you know, but we know that we do have to sometimes just, you know, there's times when the animal will take us in a direction that, okay, I didn't know that, oh, okay. And I always go with the animal, So here's this woman that won this certificate or whatever. And I mean, it was like from the get-go. I mean, she didn't say, I don't believe in this stuff, but she was very like just standoffish. And it was over the phone. You could tell she was like, just really standoffish. The second I started talking, she's like, no, that's not right. No, that's not, no, not me. No, not right. I mean, she was like fighting. And it was like, you know, because we read the human first when we do animal communications most of the time. And then, so I said, okay, let me connect with, she was saying, no, about everything that I was getting from her. So you're kind of starting to panic a little bit, because you're just like, okay, has God, Spirit, Universe left me? I can't do this anymore, or whatever. But so I connect with the dog, and the dog was like, here's how this is going to go. We got to go fast and furious, because the dog was like, we have this window of opportunity, because she is going to fight you from the beginning to the end. And he didn't really give me those words, but he was like, nope, we're not doing the body scan. Nope, we're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that. Boom, message. Like, we will do, you get to know the animal, and then we'll do a body scan, and then we'll have questions, and then we'll get to it. Like, he was like, no. And he absolutely took me to this place, and she fought me tooth and nail the whole time. So to the end of it, I'm laughing by the end of this reading, and I'm like, okay, well, our time's up. And she's like, well, you didn't tell me anything that so-and-so and so-and-so haven't been telling me for 6 months. So I guess that was all right. I'm like, oh. Do you know what I mean? And again, not that it was, I'm not saying that it's about me and like, look, I was right after all. It's just that the dog was so funny, because we're skipping all that other stuff. You just got to just go and keep, and it was like nailing hard, like this message. And I'm thinking, I feel like I'm being beaten up here. But it was really, really funny, because at the end she's like, well, okay, I guess so. And it was just a funny way that I was, oh, okay, we're not doing that. We're going this way, with the way the dog that wanted to take me in that direction. Do you guys have that, or do you ever have to like, okay?
I had one, this was maybe a couple of years ago, and I have since stayed in touch with this client, but it was her dog telling her something that she didn't want to hear. And she disagreed, and she was really annoyed. I mean, she said something like, because she's a Chihuahua, and they're really bossy, and like they think they know what, like she was talking like the was talking to her, but she wouldn't take the message. And so we went, and she was really nice about it and everything. It wasn't, she got other information and whatnot, but the next morning when I woke up, she had been up late that night, and she wrote me this huge email and said that she'd been thinking, because I did her like the morning before, she'd been thinking about it all day, and she said she's right. And then she started to tell me all this stuff, what the dog had said and what it was, and it was, it was the dog was spot on. But it was so funny. Her attitude was like, nope, that's not true. She's telling you something that's not true.
Yeah.
It was true.
Oh man. That's funny. That's cool. Julie, let's talk about your everyday signs. Let's move into like what happens to us like on an everyday. Oh, and after that, I'm going to share Julie, you and I on the phone once a couple years ago when I lost one of my dogs. And then, oh yeah, I got signs. So talk about your signs, because you're like a really big one for like finding things.
Well, I think I'll tell you the most recent thing that happened was I had to take my cat to the vet. I thought something was wrong with her, and I couldn't get in. I was to my normal vet, and I called all over the place, and I found this other vet who was okay, had an opening. So I take my cat in. She's okay, by the way. She was fine. But
I know, because I'm like, oh my God.
No, she's fine. And so of course in current times you have to wait outside.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting outside, and in New York City you're literally waiting outside. You typically don't have a car to sit in. So
right, yeah.
I'm on the sidewalk with, the other pet parents and stuff. And I started thinking about how I'm not that crazy with my regular vet, and I have a good feeling about this vet. I wonder if I should just like officially change to this vet. And as soon as I thought that, this guy next to me goes, this is the best vet in all of Brooklyn. Like, I've been taking my cats here forever, and the doctor, every single doctor is extraordinary. And I was like, oh.
Like,
and then as soon as, as soon as he said that, another woman walked up to the door, and the vet tech came to the door, and the woman said, yeah, I'm picking up meds for Willow. And Willow is my soul kitty on the other. She's my soul kitty on the other side. So it was like this punctuation mark, right? on the confirmation I got from the man. And then like Willow swoops in and is like, just want to make sure you got the message.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just want to make sure you didn't. Yeah. Oh my God, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Julie, I don't know if you remember. Again, this was in 2017. One of my dogs had cancer, and even though we do what we do, it's like super, super, super hard to make that decision. Even though we know what we know, even though we do what we do, it's still really super hard to make that decision. So I remember being on the phone with Julie for like an hour, and I'm crying my eyes out, and I'm like, I just need a sign. I just need a sign. And of course, Julie's like, you've been getting signs all week. You know what I mean? And like, so one of the signs that I have with my mother, who has passed, is, we call it MES, mysterious electrical shit. And so she, like, whenever something weird happens like that, it's my mother. So I get off the phone with Julie, and I'm crying, and I go into the bathroom, and I'm sitting there, sorry to be graphic, but whatever. And all of a sudden the fan turns on, and I'm looking at the switch, and the switch is off, but the fan is on. And then it goes off, and then I'm like, is that you? A little bit later, the fan turns on again. And of course my husband's an electrical engineer, and he knows, and he believes in what I do and everything, but he came home and he goes, Jer, it's a switch. Darned if he could find the problem with that thing, and it's never happened again.
Yeah.
So those are the signs that you can also put those signs out there. This is what I want. This happened on New Year's Eve. We all know I've had cancer and blah blah blah, and so I just had my last treatment on New Year's Eve. And I'm getting in my car, and I'm bawling my eyes out, because the nurses were all hugging each other and crying, because it's like, oh my God, these are some of the best people in my life that I've known for a year, and I'm never going to see you again. So it's like a weird thing. So we're all crying, whatever. I get in my car, and I'm like, all right. And I'm driving home, and I've got the music cranked, and I'm listening to Sirius XM radio, and they're playing crap. I'm like, what the heck? They're playing crap, like no station, anything good. So I plug my phone in, and I hit Pandora. One of the signs that I give my mother, again, mysterious electrical, MES. And then the other ones is the song Sailing by Christopher Cross. So I plug Pandora in, and Christopher Cross station is right there. Now I listen to it, but normally it comes up with my like recents, but there's Christopher Cross station. And I'm like, So I click on it and it's like dead air for like 5 seconds, like nothing happens. And then sailing starts. And I start, of course, bawling my eyes out, right? And then I recently on December 1st, I lost my heart dog. And so I said to my mom, sorry, I'm starting to cry. I said to my mom, tell me she's with you. Tell me you have her. And my car has these electric brake, or this automatic braking system. If you get too close to the car in front of you, I was nowhere near the car in front of me. So I said, and I had said, Mom, tell me you have her. And my car goes, good, 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 good. The brakes go in this thing. And I'm bawling my eyes out, but I'm laughing hysterically because I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the things, if you assign those signs, they're like, okay, thank you for helping me get to you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yeah. And every time it happens there, and it's sort of like we said before with that dog in the tutu, you can't rationalize that away.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just can't rationalize that away. It's not, there's no such thing as coincidence in my book. You know, what about you, Ginger? Signs, not just.
I was thinking one of the biggest things that happened to me, and this is probably, I don't even know, maybe 12, 15 years ago. And it was in the summertime, and I was driving from the town I was living in to the town I'm now living in, on one of my favorite streets, which happens to be a street I now live on. But anyway, it's a beautiful street, and it connects two big streets on either side. It's probably maybe a mile-ish long, and it's very windy. It's a New England road. There's a lot of stone walls at the beginning of the road with tons of trees it's beautiful, overhang, and you can see the stone walls. But anyway, so I take a left on the street, and when I was going through something really, really tough at home, in my house, that I was really struggling with. And a lot of times I call on Archangel Michael. We call on different, entities. And so I said to him, I need help. I need a sign. I need to know that you're with me. I don't know, like I feel alone in this. So I take a left, and I remember I had this red shirt on. It was in this beautiful August day. I had the sunroof open. And the second I turned on the street and said this, I saw this beam of light hit my heart on my shirt. And I said, oh, and that was like, I thought, that's the sign. That's wonderful. But here's the weird thing. The whole way, because I went all the way to the end of the street because I was going somewhere. So a mile long, as my road is winding with overhanging trees, that beam of light stayed in the same spot. It's not possible to go. Yes. It would be cut off by the trees.
Yes.
And it stayed all the way to the end till I was almost shaky. I just could not believe it, but I could feel that presence. So that was probably the biggest one. And then for the other one, I think I might have mentioned this before, but again, was my mother has passed and has been gone for many years. And I asked her one weekend, I need a sign from you. I need to know you're there. It was on a Sunday, and I never said anything to anybody. Whatever. Tuesday, my brother called. He had a reading Monday night, and my mother came through in his reading and said, this is for my daughter. And, gave the information of what I was looking for the sign for, all through my brother. She hijacked his reading to give me, and it wasn't a sign that she gave me. She gave me actual black and white words on what I should be doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I asked and I received.
That makes me think of, kind of like what Julie was talking about at the very beginning about how we have to be open to this and stuff. And you know me, I'm like really into the law of attraction. Well, sometimes, especially like if we're going through a hard time or we've been through some grief, it's hard for you to raise your vibration. We always say when we connect with either an animal or human on the other side, we have to raise our vibration, and they actually have to kind of lower theirs to kind of meet us in the middle. But if we don't raise that vibration, before we do every reading, we clear ourselves, we, do little mantras or do our rituals or whatever to raise our vibration. A lot of times, especially after grief, it's hard for us to raise our vibration because we're in such grief. So oftentimes in situations like this, that it's been my experience studying the law of attraction that they will go to somebody else because they can't get through to you. Like they're trying to get through to you, but your vibration is so low that you're not picking up the signs.
Right.
It's like right after I lost Gigi a couple weeks ago or the last month, she came through, my husband was getting all the signs. because I was like, in a fetal position, you know what I mean? Like, right. So she was showing up in his dreams and and my mother was showing up in his dreams and stuff because they're going to take the easiest road and you need to tell her this.
Right.
Because we're not there. And I think I've talked to clients about that a lot. They're like, I can't feel him. I can't feel him. I can't feel him. And I'm like, I get it. Trust me, he's trying to come in. You just got to raise that vibration. And I'm certainly not telling them get over the grief. You're never going to get over the grief. But if you can find bits and pieces of, oh gosh, remember when she did this, or remember when he did this, and get and kind of make yourself find that love or find that laughter or something like that. Those are when, like, bam, 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 they try to get in. Yeah.
Yeah. However they can. And they come through in ways that, and I think we've talked about this before too, they come in ways that are best for us to be able to relate.
Yes.
So, like for you, Jerry, when you were talking about you're drawn to an area, I actually feel an area. So for me, that's how it comes through. So whatever way you said, that is the easiest or the best way to come through, they do.
Oh my God, that brings up something else. I don't know if you guys get this, but it's weird sometimes. Like, I have to say to clients sometimes, I receive a lot of information via TV commercials, movies, or like cartoons. Which is weird because I'm not you'd think that I have the TV on all day. I don't at all. You know what I mean? So it's weird that I get that, but I'll see like Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music as a symbol for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they bring up a character of somebody that was in, the Jets, when you're a Jet, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah.
So it's like bizarre. That's how I receive, that's one of the ways, but a very prominent way that I receive information. I'm also a writer. So I know we've had discussions when we've been in class before, but about hearing, I don't really hear, I see words though, which makes sense. I'm a writer.
Right.
And I will see them lowercase or uppercase or bold to give me degree, kind of. Do you know what I mean? What ways do you get, Julie? Like, is that something that happens to you?
I do not see words written out. I'll hear words, but it's funny when you're talking about TV and movies, because I'm the biggest TV movie freak, and I get very little I get very few messages that way. And so I'm very excited when it does happen. So this one time I was doing a mediumship reading, and I was connected to this woman's uncle on the other side, and he showed me Daniel Craig, and I was like,
Daniel Craig, last
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, wasn't he in last
Daniel Craig, James Bond.
Oh, James Bond. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so this might mean that he's like looks like Daniel Craig, like light features, but what I'm really feeling is that he's like this really, like a real guy, like a real masculine, attractive, hot guy. And the woman was like, she started laughing. She said, you know what? That's exactly what he would want you to think. And, it was like, that's how he carried himself too, and how he presented himself to the world, and that's how he thought of himself. So I get really excited when that happens.
That's funny.
But I did think of something when you were saying, like, the message will come through someone else. I have a friend named Erica who has 3 kids. And one night I dreamed about her one son. I woke up the next morning and I literally felt like I had dreamed about her son all night long. And I couldn't remember anything specific, but I just felt like I was dreaming Tyler. And the next day she gets in touch with me and she's like, the weirdest thing happened last night. She had fallen asleep.
Tyler, right?
Yeah. Hello. She had fallen asleep on her couch downstairs, and she woke up like that because she heard Tyler up at the top of the stairs going, "We have a situation up here." woke up. And her husband was in the next room, and she's like, did you hear Tyler? And he's like, no. And so they go upstairs to investigate and hear their dog was shut in the nursery with the baby. Like the door was shut. They inadvertently shut the dog in. And so what it really felt like was their dog Dina was sending out these messages. How am I going to get their attention?
Hey,
how am I going to get
the door?
How am I going to get my mom's attention, right?
Yeah.
But if that doesn't work, I know I've communicated with Julie before, so I'm going to send her.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, that's cool.
It was the craziest thing.
That is really, really cool. I like when you mentioned the mediumship, because we all, Julie and I are both in a mediumship program. Ginger is, it's coming in for her as well or whatever. So we all have the mediumship abilities. And of course we do the mediumship with animals all the time. But I love when I often will ask, and I think Ginger, you told me your brother does this. Ginger's brother is a medium as well. And he asked for what they calls the bullseye or something. I always ask, can you put something in my hand? And it's amazing the things that they will put in your hands that you're like, okay, I'm holding this thing. I did it when I was first starting out and I was only doing practice mediumship readings. I did it for this woman, and we were doing a Zoom call, and he put a big, huge ring like in my hand, like a ring like only a massive guy could wear, like a huge, ring or whatever. And after the reading, I'm like, do you understand that? Yep. She held up this ring that she had that was given down to her. So in other words, they will do everything and anything to validate. You know what I mean? To give you those things so that we as humans can't rationalize it or brush it away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I love that one, Julie. Like as soon as Erica called, it would have been like something, what happened with Tyler?
Yeah.
Like what's going on with Tyler? Yeah. It's just.
I had one years ago, my, this woman that I knew that was a medium, I did a reading with her, and my mother came through, and she said, your mother's holding up a bell. And so she starts to interpret, which she should not have done. I was like frozen, because what had happened was a few months earlier, my mother had passed many years before, and we were getting ready to sell the house because my stepdad was going into like a senior housing kind of situation. And so I went to help pack up and all of that, and all my mother's things I really had already given to sisters and whatnot many years earlier. But she had this Lalique bell on her bureau, was the only thing left. And I went with my daughter, who was maybe 6 or 7 at the time. And she said, can I have that? I don't have anything from Nana, because she had never met her. So I didn't think nobody would care. So I gave her the bell. And so in this reading, my mother was just saying, hey, I saw that bell. And she's saying, maybe I think, you're more formal than your mother. And she's coming up with all these things. I couldn't even speak. Yeah. I was like, no, it was a Lalique bell that she said, take it to give to my daughter. So
that's a great reminder. We always say that we are not supposed to interpret,
right?
Whatever comes through. And we have to say, we said this before, everything that comes through. I remember I was doing a reading. It was actually for my brother and his family and their cat. They were like, she's not doing well. She's not doing well at all. Could you connect with her? So I connect with her, and it happened to be the night of their youngest child's birthday. It was her birthday. And she was younger. She was probably, 7, 8, something. I don't really know. I don't know. I'm horrible at ages of children. I don't have them. And even though these are my nieces and nephew, I'm sorry, but I'm just terrible at it. So I don't know how old she was, but she was a young girl. And I was asking the cat, are you ready? Are you ready? And she's like, I am, but I'm not going to go tonight because I don't want it to be that she died on the little girl's birthday, my niece's birthday. So I said, tell me what do you want them to do? And, families, we used to always have a little, and I was living here, they were up north, and families have they have dinner out, and then they come home and they have a little birthday cake or something like that. So she showed me a very specific blue blanket that I know because it's on their sofa. Do you know what I mean? So, because this is my brother's house or whatever. And I, she wants the blue blanket. She wants to be kind of put in the middle of the room, and she wants to kind of enjoy the party or something. Long story short, at one point she's showing me a dead mouse. And I'm like, that's me. That's got to be me because it's a cat. So why I'm seeing a dead mouse. So that's me interpreting something or whatever. But because it was my sister-in-law, I said it anyway. And she said, oh yeah, the other cat brought her a dead mouse because she was passing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they had the birthday, they put her in a bedroom, and that's what she said, just everybody go to bed. And they put her in an empty bedroom, and everybody woke up the next morning, kids went to bed, and my brother and sister-in-law went in, and she had passed under the bed, at night. But that's kind of like an example of they can tell us what they want and how they want to pass and stuff like that. But B, we have to say what we get, and we can't interpret. Like I was thinking, that mouse, okay, that's me getting in the way, and that's not accurate. And that's not, you know what I mean? But, and so now sometimes in a reading, I'm like, I don't know if this is me or not, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I do the same exact thing. Yeah. And my biggest lesson when I was very new, I did a reading for somebody, and I probably shouldn't have done it this way, but when I set up the reading, I thought I was reading this person. As it turned out, this person had permission for me to read through her. It was for somebody else who thought it would be too painful, had lost an animal. But I was new and I did it. And so I got the really weird information, and she wasn't giving me anything other than, yep, that makes sense. But what I got was, I had this feeling of, and almost a picture, but I could feel like wind through the hair of the cat, like blowing. But the hair was standing straight up like static electricity, and the cat could not walk. So there was no way that the wind would be blowing and that the hair would be standing up, and that the cat couldn't walk. Plus I could feel the heart beating really fast. So I forget how but those are the physical things, because I'm a feeler, that I got. And she's like, yep. And so finally I said, and
you're thinking, what the heck?
How can that be?
Yeah.
And none of that matches. And what happened was, and the reason why the woman was so traumatized is that she was renting an apartment like on the 6th floor, and the landlord let somebody in, a workman in, to do something. I don't know if they replaced a window or a screen or something in the bedroom where the cat was, and left the window open, and the cat fell out of the window.
Oh, geez.
And didn't make it.
So you could feel the wind.
I could feel the wind. I could feel the heart go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But the cat couldn't move. The cat couldn't walk, because obviously I don't know if, and I didn't ask if the cat passed by hitting the ground or just they couldn't save the cat after hitting the ground, because the cat wasn't able to move. Wow. It was just but I said all of that because I was like, what?
Even though it made absolutely no sense to you. Like,
it made no sense.
Kind of like Toons is the driving guinea pig or whatever.
Right.
Not to make light.
That was not as funny, right? I mean, it was sad, but it was a big lesson for me. Say it, because you don't know. You're not the judge of
Absolutely. All right, we need a funny one because we're not ending on that.
Oh, I have a funny one.
Awesome.
This was another reading that was early on in my practice, but I connected into this woman's cat, and this had never happened before, and it hasn't happened since. But the cat came through like in a freeze frame. Like it was like I was looking at a picture of a cat in a book or something. Because always when I invite an animal in, I see them like actually walk in or run in or trot in or something. I see it visually. But this was just literally like, and so I tried to like engage and interact. Nothing. It just stayed like frozen. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to tell her. I'm going to have to be like completely honest here. I said, this has never happened to me before. I don't know why it's happening, but your cat's showing me this orange, like coming through as an orange tabby cat, and like a still life, like he's not moving. And she goes, well, my cat's not orange, but I am sitting right in front of my statue of an orange tabby cat.
That's great.
And it really felt like, and it became clear as we went through the reading, like this cat who I was reading is very mischievous, likes to play little tricks. So the cat was like completely playing with me.
That's hysterical.
And then after that, like he came through normally.
That's great.
It is funny the way that they do come through. I remember doing a reading for somebody, and I read her cat, and after, we had a half hour, so I read like 15 minutes in the first cat, and then she said, do you want to see a picture of her? And I said, sure. So she showed me a picture of her on the couch with her sister. I knew she had another cat, and so she was whatever color. I think she was a brown tabby, and the sister was orange. And so I said, do you want me to read? So we chat, and I'm done with that. I see the picture and whatnot. So I said, do you want me to read the orange tabby? She said, I don't have an orange tabby. And I go, no, the one that was on the couch with her. She goes, no, she's brown. I'm like, no, I saw an orange tabby. So then she said, well, I did lose an orange tabby a couple of years ago. And it was that cat who had something to say. So I read that cat, but then after, when we were all done, she showed me the picture again, and it was 2 brown tabbies.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
You saw it as an orange.
I saw it as an orange.
That cat wanted to come through.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was a little wigged out at that, because I thought, no, I saw orange.
Yeah.
And I looked, nope, I did not.
That's cool. Well, that's kind of like what we had said before about you. Sometimes you have to fly by the seat of your pants, and you have to trust. And, sometimes all the time I say to my clients, when I first start, I say, here, first I do this, then I do the da, 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 da. And I always say, if you'll hear me say a gazillion times, does that make sense? And if it does, just say yes. If it doesn't though, please tell me. Because I'll get clients that'll go, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly that doesn't make sense. That, tell me, because I can always go back and say, look, she's not getting it this way. She's not understanding it. Can you maybe give it to me another way? Maybe maybe it's muddling through me or something. But so I say this to my clients, if you don't understand it, tell me. And then I say, usually we can get it clear, but I do say that if you still don't understand it, no offense to the human, but I always take the animal's side. I'll always say, okay, we're going to put that in our back pocket. Yep. Do you know what I mean? Because 9 times out of 10, by the end of the reading, they'll go, oh, wait. Right. Or a day later, they'll turn around like you did, like the guys see the picture of the big dog that he's hugging that he sees every day.
Right.
So I'm always like, no offense. We're just going to move on, but keep that in your back pocket and let me know if it becomes clear to you.
Right.
Because the animals are always, and that's so great that you did it though, or that you recognize, hey, it's an orange cat. And so that cat needed to come through for a message. Yeah. So cool. They are, you know what? There are so many people that look at animals and they're like, and I don't want to use this word, but an inferior being. Yeah. No, that's so not the case. Yep. It's so not the case. I mean, they are intelligent, just communicators, and they're amazing. It never ceases to amaze me.
It doesn't. I swear, I know we always say this, but I feel like I learn something in almost every reading that I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that other piece about when you give a reading, you get a reading. And I'm always like, how the hell does that work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you'll do a reading. I did, 3 of them this week, at least. I was like, cause it was like, well, that was for me. You know what I mean?
That's true. Doesn't it feel like, when you get the same like theme?
Yes.
Whether it's self-care or meditation, or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, all week I've been hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's amazing when it feels to me like you attract in the clients who are going through parallel things that you have experience with or that you're currently dealing with. I'm blown away every time that happens.
Blown away every time. And it's like, how is this all orchestrated?
Yeah.
Like when we get to the other side, we're going to be like, oh,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, we always talk in humans, we have linear time. I'm a practicing shaman, a shamanic practitioner, and there's not linear time there. So it's like one of those things that you sort of like, you're studying it, you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, no, I lost it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I get it. Oh, no, I lost it. Like you sort of get this concept all of a sudden, and then you're like, yeah, like your human brain gets in the way or something.
Yeah.
About that, but how it's divinely orchestrated.
Right.
All these reasons are divinely orchestrated. Go ahead,
and I feel like I just feel like we have such support around us at all times. Even if we feel lonely and lost, we're so surrounded by support and this energy of just wanting us to be our best self, right? Because I remember, this is before I studied Reiki and animal communication or anything like that. I was struggling with a chronic health issue. Western medicine wasn't helping. I went to see a psychic, like you do.
Yeah,
and
naturally.
Was told, of course, next logical step, and was told to get a Reiki session. So I'll never forget. I was on my way. I'm walking in Manhattan on my way to the session. I stopped on a corner. I know it was East 86th and First Avenue. And I was waiting for the light to change. And I stood there and I thought to myself, is this just going to be another dead end? Is this just going to be something that doesn't help me? Like one more thing that I'm trying. As soon as I thought that, this little white baby feather comes whipping in from my right side, hovers in front of my eyes.
Oh my God.
Flips around 3 times and then goes off to my left. And immediately I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll do it. I get it.
Oh man.
And then, you know, I had the Reiki session. It made me feel great. I ended up studying with the woman who gave me the Reiki session, and it changed my life.
Yep.
Changed my career, changed my life.
Yeah. Your
right?
career, your life, your physical body, everything. You know, it reminds me of like a great, in a sense, you were asking there, like in a sense, when you stopped at 86th and First, you're saying, is this another dead end? You know, like, help me, I need a sign. And that's one thing that I would like to, you know, end with, is just that we can ask for help. We can ask for signs, and they're so willing to give it to us in bizarre ways, funny ways, sad ways, happy ways, usually not sad ways, but things that might, you know what I mean? Like they're so willing to give it to us in, you know, like my mom, mysterious electrical shit. Of course, that's how she does it, because that was a thing with her and my husband. You know, that was a thing when she was alive. Do you know what I mean? It was a very funny thing that she loved. So, and when we ask for it, you know, look at the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, like I would say, ask it is always given. Like, I know that's kind of talking about something else, but when we ask for that sign, when we ask for help, Ginger, you said you had done that when you were like, I need help. I'm in a bad situation. I need help. You know, Julie, you kind of did that as this another thing, you know, and then look, you know, wait and see what happens, because I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where nothing happens.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Just, and it may be as, you know, incontrovertible as a feather going, wee, 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 and then whatever, or it may be a thought that pops into your head, or it may be, you know, a feeling, it may be a smell, you know, your mother's perfume, your grandmother's perfume, or you know, the sound, you know, I had a dog that barked very distinctly, and every now and then I hear that bark, and it was a very distinct bark. So it was Gibbs. It's Gibbs. Do you know what I mean? So it can come in so many different ways. So yes, you can ask, hey, this is my sign. Could you use this? But be open to everything if you haven't done that yet. So
this was fun.
What were you going to say, Julie?
Sorry, really quick. It makes me think of how my grandmother gives me this 3-digit number because it was her house number. And we always would, if we were going to grandma's house, we would say, I'm going to that number.
Yeah.
And this one night I had to make a really difficult decision. And I asked my grandmother, my guides, my angels, can you please give me that 3-digit number to tell me, to confirm I'm making the right decision. And then all of a sudden I looked at my phone for no reason, and the time on my phone had those 3 digits in it, but not in the order. So I I went back to my guides, angels and grandma, and said, you guys, I want it in the order. I want it in
I'm not playing
the exact order.
Here.
And I went to bed, and the next morning, the first thing I did when I woke up was I opened up my laptop and I went to look at my emails, and in the upper left, it tells you how many emails you have. And it was that number in the right order. Then I was like, wow, okay, cool. Then I opened up Facebook, and the first thing in the feed was, if you boost your post, you'll reach this many more people. It was the 3-digit number.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So they're going, okay, yeah, pissy about it. We're going to throw it at you.
And then I picked up my phone and I opened up a game that I play on my phone, and the score was the 3-digit number. Oh my
God.
And I was like,
that's the thing.
Thank you.
Yes. And you cannot possibly, there's nothing in you. And I know as humans, we can be skeptical, but come on. There's nothing that you could have said is like, well, okay, now I need you to show me,
right.
You know, like, come on, you know? Oh,
never in my wildest dreams did I think they would show me the exact number, boom, 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 3 times in a row. Like awesome. 3 minutes in a row. Like,
is this enough for you, Julie?
Yeah, come on, Julie. Is this enough? Quit doubting. Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh my God, you guys, this has been a really good conversation. I love, it makes me feel so good and so honored that, and I'm sure you guys feel the same, that we are able to do what we do. And being of service like that to others. But yeah, a big piece of this is, you guys, is you can ask and notice the things around you. Pick your head up, you know, look at things, notice things, ask for things, ask for help. And it'll be there for you. And it can be really funny sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we said, you know. So Julie, thank you so much for being our guest wife. This was fun. We don't see you enough.
Thank you so much.
We love you. So,
it was an honor and a privilege to be guest wife.
Guest wife.
Yes. An honor and a privilege.
Yes. You will come on again. Trust me. We'll, you know, hey, Julie, come talk to us about blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we absolutely love that you were here for us. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. As you all know, you can find us on thepsychicwives.com. You can also find, you know, obviously Ginger and my information there, but Julie's information there as well. Because again, she was a guest for us talking about the chakra system. So if you want to get in touch with her, she's there as well. And as you know, you can find us on, I'm not sure where you're all listening to us, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we are now once again uploading our videos to YouTube, to our YouTube channel. And that's just go on there, search The Psychic Wives, and you'll find us here. Don't forget to go to our Facebook page at The Psychic Wives, because we are talking about our upcoming book club. Our first book is out there already. And you can go there and get all the information. And then next month, which will be in February, we'll be having a Zoom call to talk about it. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.